In the quiet, tight-knit community of Waverly, Tennessee, the start of the new year is usually a time for reflection and fresh starts. But on January 2, 2026, a standard welfare check conducted by the Humphreys County Sheriff's Office pulled back the curtain on a scene that would haunt this small town forever. When deputies stepped across the threshold of the home, they weren't just looking for someone who had missed a few phone calls. They were walking into a profound tragedy. Inside, they discovered 4 family members, all dead from gunshot wounds. The investigation began immediately, with Sheriff Chris Davis leading the charge in a place where he personally knew the families involved. This wasn't just another case file for the local authorities. These were longtime residents, neighbors, and friends whose lives were part of the fabric of Humphreys County. As the yellow crime scene tape was unfurled across the property, the community held its breath, wondering what could have led to such a violent end. The sheriff was quick to announce to the public via a Facebook post that there were no active threats to the area, but that did not stop the chilling questions from spreading through the streets. What really happened inside that house, and how could it have happened here? As the sun set on that Friday in January, the names of the deceased began to be released, and the reality of the tragedy became even more unthinkable for those who knew them. The primary suspect was not an intruder or a stranger hiding in the shadows, but the very person supposed to protect the youngest members of the household. The names released by authorities painted a picture of a generational massacre. The oldest victim was 88-year-old Evelyn Johnson, a great-grandmother who had spent her life as a resident of the area. Beside her were 2 boys with their entire lives ahead of them, 13-year-old Isaiah Johnson and 4-year-old Arius Thompson. The person investigators allege is responsible for pulling the trigger was 32-year-old Heather Thompson, the mother of the 2 boys and the granddaughter of Evelyn. A triple murder followed by a suicide is a sequence of events that defies logic, particularly in a case involving such young children. Investigators from the Humphreys County Sheriff's Office, working alongside the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, TBI, believe that Heather Thompson killed all 3 of her family members before turning the weapon on herself. The local school system, where 13-year-old Isaiah was a student, was left reeling from the news. The director of Humphreys County Schools released a statement through ABC affiliate WKRN, expressing deep sadness and confirming that the school would not be providing extensive comments out of respect for the family and the ongoing investigation. However, the director emphasized that the school's thoughts were with the student's family and the entire community during what was described as an incredibly painful time. To assist the grieving students and staff, the school arranged for counselors to be on site on January 5th to ensure everyone had access to help as they processed their feelings. This proactive step highlighted the deep impact Isaiah had on his classmates and teachers. As the police began to dig into Heather Thompson's past to find a motive for this massacre, they were met with a puzzling lack of evidence. Usually, in cases of this magnitude, there is a clear trail of red flags, a history of domestic disputes, legal intervention, or documented mental health crises. But in Waverly, the official records regarding Heather Thompson were eerily silent. Sheriff Chris Davis confirmed that there was no history of domestic violence reported to his office, and no mental health-related calls had ever been made regarding the residents. To the outside world, this was a family living a quiet, unremarkable life. There were no restraining orders on file and no frantic 911 calls that would have alerted authorities to a woman on the edge of a breakdown. This total lack of warning signs has transformed the case into a profound mystery. If there were no red flags, how can any community feel they truly know the dangers that might exist behind a neighbor's door? While the legal records showed no signs of trouble, the personal life of Heather Thompson involved a significant rift. She was estranged from the father of her two sons, a man named Biah Thompson. This estrangement meant that while the tragedy unfolded in Tennessee, the ripples of grief reached all the way to New Mexico, where Biah was located. Upon hearing the news, Biah Thompson took to social media to share his agony, writing on Facebook, "Every second of today, I wish I could just wake up." He described the news as something that shattered his soul. For a father to lose his children is a catastrophe, but to lose both Isaiah and Arius at the hands of their mother is a level of grief that is almost impossible to articulate. Biah described his sons simply as just babies and launched a GoFundMe campaign with the goal of bringing their remains back to New Mexico so he could lay them to rest near him. As of early January, he had already raised more than $11,000 from a sympathetic public. The community in Waverly also organized to support the families. Another GoFundMe was established by Michelle DeMoose, a loved one of Heather Thompson, who asked for help to lay these beautiful souls to rest. She acknowledged the difficulty of the timing, noting that money is often tight after the holidays, but stated that any donation would be deeply appreciated. This dual effort to fund the funerals highlighted the complexity of the community's grief, mourning the innocent children and their grandmother, while also grappling with the actions of the mother. As the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation continues to process the evidence, a shocking detail has emerged regarding the timeline of the deaths. Investigators do not believe the bodies were in the home for an extended period of time before they were discovered. This suggests that the window between the final gunshot and the arrival of the deputies for the welfare check was remarkably short. This was not a case where a disappearance went unnoticed for weeks. The authorities arrived at a scene that was still fresh. This timing raises chilling questions. Was the welfare check requested because of a final message sent by Heather? Or did a neighbor hear the gunfire and alert the Humphreys County Sheriff's Office? The Sheriff's Office has stated that they are currently waiting on autopsy results to finalize the timeline and officially close the investigation into the causes of death. These forensic results will provide a scientific sequence of events that may shed light on whether any external factors played a role in the tragedy. Sheriff Chris Davis, standing before the cameras, reiterated his commitment to the victims, stating, "We're going to do right by them." His words reflect the heavy burden of a law enforcement officer who is not just investigating a crime, but mourning members of his own community. For the public and the residents of Waverly, the case serves as a haunting reminder of the invisible struggles people may be facing. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is frequently cited in reports of this case, serving as a reminder that help is available 24/7 for those experiencing emotional distress or mental health challenges. As the investigation into the Thompson-Johnson family concludes, the town remains in a state of mourning for Evelyn, Isaiah, and Arius. We may never fully understand what drove Heather Thompson to take the lives of her grandmother and her babies before taking her own. What remains is a father in New Mexico waiting to bring his sons home, and a small town in Tennessee left to wonder how such a dark storm could form in such a quiet place. Understanding a tragedy with no prior red flags is like looking at a serene frozen lake. From the surface, everything appears solid and peaceful, giving no indication of the currents beneath. It is only when the ice suddenly breaks that the hidden, turbulent depths are revealed, leaving those on the shore to realize that the stillness they trusted was actually the most dangerous part of the landscape.